Hello, this is Ken. I like making things. Whether it's repainting my figures or making diorama displays, I love making things look awesome. My goal is to elevate my figures so they can shine on my display. Join my DIY venture as I ask myself the same question every week. Can I make it? Hey, I need your help again. So here's Peter Parker from last week's video. He looks fantastic, and I read your comments. Almost all of you said I should keep him as blonde Peter. So I'm gonna do that and see if I can hunt down the other Peter B. Parker figure. Anyway, so after my video went live, I went and checked my video on the phone and noticed that the video looked a bit dull. It appears that the white balance might have been off. I noticed that the figure looks brighter in real life. It could be that my computer screen was set too bright, so the final video ended up a touch too dark. I brightened today's video and I think it looks better now. It's hard to show you the issue because phone screens look much bluer on camera. I have the figure in front of me right now, and it looks like the current white balance matches what I see in front of my eyes. What's trippy is that the video looks turquoise on my iPad. The same footage looks different on different screens. Boo. Here's a grayscale image. The background appears to be a nice gray as well. So I think my white balance is correct now. Does the video look fine to you? Or does it look too cold or dark? Do I need to add some more to the white balance? Let me know. Thanks. Alright, on to today's video. I'm gonna work on Gwen. This is actually my first Spider-Gwen figure. When they announced this wave, Peter Parker and Gwen were the two figures I was looking forward to the most. I skipped them from the previous releases, and I'm kinda glad I did, because I think this new wave gave us superior versions of the characters. Let's deconstruct this figure. I don't have the first Gwen figure because I didn't get anyone from the first movie. But that Spider-Gwen was the best one of the wave in my opinion. I then skipped the second one because I did not like those eyes. I don't remember if she made that face specifically, but that squint did not look good. Swapping the head seems to be the only way to fix the eyes, and since I don't have the first Gwen, I wouldn't be able to fix those eyes. That is why I'm glad they're releasing this Spider-Gwen with regular eyes. And I appreciate that they gave her her watercolor bluish purplish look from the movie. I really like this look. It looks quite natural. It doesn't bother me that she isn't blonde. The main issue is that her limbs are made out of this softer plastic, which makes posing quite a chore, especially with those tiny shoes of hers. But overall, this figure looks great. The colors are pleasing to look at, and the sculpt is accurate to the movie. The only thing I want to change is the texture on Gwen's hair. The hair is supposed to have more of an ombre effect, but here the purple and blue are quite divided. Oh, the Lila figure is actually very cool too. I love the pose. There's so much personality to her, and they did a pretty good job making her look like a hologram. So, I was rewatching the scene where Gwen was talking to her father, and I was trying to get some inspiration and a good reference shot. The bad thing is, Gwen's colors kept changing throughout the scene. And the good thing is, Gwen's color kept changing throughout the scene. Which means, I don't have to be super accurate. As long as she's blue and purple, she'll look right. I believe this particular shot here is what the Hasbro team used as their reference. The hair color and the skin tone seem to match, so that's what I'm gonna do as well. What I also like about this particular shot is that Gwen still looks quite natural. The thing about Gwen is that she's not just changing her colors, she's affecting the environment around her as well. It only happens in her world. That is why Gwen looks normal whenever she's in another universe. And since I'm gonna display Gwen with other characters, It wouldn't make sense for her to be the only one with a blue and purple tint. With all that said, I do still want Gwen to have a slight tint to her, to differentiate her from the other Gwen figure. Gwen's suit actually isn't white. It has a slight purplish hue to it. And since I'm trying to replicate this specific look of hers, I'm gonna need to make her suit light blue instead. Okay, I don't need to, but I really like the blue hue. So I'm gonna dust a thin coat of this pale blue over the entire suit. The material used on Gwen is very slippery. That is why I sanded the figure beforehand to make the paint adhere to the surface better. Alright, now I just need to clean up the edges with a cleanup brush. This is just an old brush of mine. The bristles are quite stiff, which is perfect for scrubbing off paint. Except, I think the sanding worked out too well. The paint isn't really coming off. So let me try using a toothpick. Oh, okay, this works better. I can also get into the finer areas like the area here and the rims of her eyes with the toothpick. Okay, next, I'm gonna add a bit of shading with the light blue. I wet my brush a bit so that the paint becomes runnier. I'm kinda going for that watercolor look. I also want the shading to be very subtle. I am worried that if the blue is too strong, then the suit will no longer appear white. And just to make sure the suit stays white, I'm gonna add a bit of white as my highlight, to brighten up the suit a bit. Next, the web lines. You know what I find odd? So many Spider-Man figures have missing web lines. I always thought it's because Hasbro can accurately print them on. But Gwen here proves that that's not the case, because the web lines on her are nice and crisp, perfectly aligned. They even added the webbings on the inside of her hood. Interesting. So why am I painting over them? It's because when I look at the reference image, I see that her webbings are quite subdued during this scene, and I really like that look. That is why I'm adding a very sheer layer of pink paint over them to dull down the web lines and brighten up the purple. That didn't turn out the way I wanted. The overall color now looks a little pastel-y, so let me try purple instead. Okay, it's hard to tell on camera, but it is kinda working. Alright, now I'm gonna move on to the watch. The watch looks a bit too plain. It would be fine if it was just an accessory, but since the watch plays a huge role in the movie, I'm gonna make it stand out more. First, by giving the watch a metallic blue shine. It's just silver paint with a small amount of blue mixed into it. I also went over the panel lines with black paint. Alright, onto the screen. Let me first add a red wash over it, to give it that red glow. And then I'm gonna add some random yellow fine lines so that it looks like the watch is displaying some sort of information. Look how cool that looks. All there's left is the black. This is kinda unnecessary, but I want my Gwen to be as matte as possible. The plastic shine doesn't really go with the watercolor look of hers. But that doesn't mean she cannot be glossy at all. In the movie, her eyes have this reflective finish to them. And I love that detail because it is a very CGI effect. The movie tends to have this hand-drawn animated feel to it, but it also likes to remind the audience that it is a CGI movie that looks like it's hand-drawn. I'm also adding the glossy varnish to the watch screen too. And look at that! I love it. The eyes in the watch now pop so much against the body. It's such a cool effect. Now it's time to work on Gwen's face. Okay, it's mostly the hair. Right now it kinda looks like it's made out of crayon or Play-Doh. But before I work on the hair, I want to tone down the face first. It's a touch too vibrant. At least it's not the wrong color. I also want to work on the lips a little bit. It's hard to tell on camera, but it looks a little undefined. It kinda looks like the lips were misaligned or something. Okay, I gave her a bit of a soft smile. I think that looks better. Now onto the hair. I need to make the different colors blend into each other. So I'm gonna start with the light blue color in the middle. And I'm gonna go up and down with my strokes until I don't see a harsh divide between the blue and the purple. Then I'm gonna use the purple to deepen the tips and the roots of the hair, to give the hair more dimension. I'm also gonna add a couple of strokes of purple here and there so that it looks more like strands of hair rather than clumps. And lastly, I'm gonna go in with an even lighter blue as the highlight. Would you look at that? The hair looks amazing. I actually really like this hair color on Gwen. It just suits her better, you know? But before I put the head back on and show you the before and after, I also worked on Lila too. I added a little bit of gold to her head to give her that hologram look. I tried adding a bit of gold to the outfit too, but that didn't look right. But the gold on the hair and glasses do look better. Alright, here's Gwen all finished, starting with the masked look. At a glance, there is no difference, but if you look carefully, her suit now has a blue tint to it rather than purple, and the colors of her gloves look more Gwen-like, if you know what I mean. The blue webbings aren't overpowering the purple anymore, and the matte finish also looks better in my opinion. And a small detail that I really like is that now the watch looks heavier and more important. Here's Gwen unmasked. I love how the hair turned out. The original hair wasn't that bad to begin with, but the painted version is 100 times better. The less vibrant face also looks pretty good as well. What do you think? Do you like what I've done? Let me know down below. To be fair, the changes on the suit are barely noticeable. Without the before and after, you probably wouldn't be able to tell what's been changed. But I feel like all the changes I made to the suit made the figure look better. Not a huge improvement, but when I look at the before, the colors of the original suit just look slightly off now, you know? What I'm the most proud of is the hair. Hair is quite challenging to paint in general. I often feel like it could be done better, but this may be the first time where I feel like I've nailed the hair perfectly. It's so pretty. Okay, it's probably easier because it's not a natural hair color. Speaking of, usually I prefer my figures to be in a neutral form, but I have to say, I'm perfectly fine with this version of Spider-Gwen. I'm totally fine with not owning a Spider-Gwen with blonde hair. There's just something really appealing about this look of hers. Could I have done a more stylized version of Spider-Gwen? Probably, but I don't think I'll love that as much. That will only really work if she's in a display that's also stylized. But right now, Gwen looks like she can be in her universe or any other universes. It is the perfect in-between. It doesn't look jarring when I pair her up with others. I love that I now have the three main protagonists from the first movie. Okay, that's not really true. That's not Peter B. Parker. But I really like how this trio look together. They look cohesive as a group, but they also look unique on their own. None of them is being overshadowed. Gwen's blue and purple hair actually works out better here too, because now I see three different unique Spider people rather than a variance of each other. As for Lila, I like that they added her as an accessory, but how can I display her? Alright, let's end this for the photo shoot. I was able to do a handful of fun poses, but I'll be honest, she's not exactly fun to pose. The soft plastic makes her quite difficult to balance. It makes me curious though. It seems like Hasbro switches to this softer plastic on figures that are thinner, such as Miles, Gwen, and Spider-Punk. I wonder if this is a longevity thing. Maybe they did tests and found that the harder plastic end up being more brittle on thinner figures. The Peter Parker Spider-Man figure feels so much more solid in comparison. He feels so much more premium in a way. Which is kinda ironic because that Spider-Man figure looks so cheap in its original unpainted form. But back to Gwen. While I'm happy that this Spider-Gwen came with those big spider eyes, I find myself preferring the unmasked head so much more. There's nothing wrong with the masked head, but the Gwen Stacy head is so much more aesthetically pleasing to look at. In fact, I prefer these figures unmasked, so I think I'm gonna display them like this. Alright, I hope you enjoyed today's video. Give this video a like and subscribe to see more content like this. And as always, stay inspired and I'll see you soon. I can make